السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome to all. Barakallahu fikum jami'an. May Allah bless each and every one of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, good evening. Hopefully today we can take a few questions from the disciples, disciples, the watchers, the viewers, locally and worldwide. And before we do so, we're going to obey our rules and follow one of our long-standing traditions and deeply rooted customs, which is introducing, mentioning, taking a benefit or two from a book, from a work from the library, the Islamic library, my humble library. And in most cases, it's a book which is, not all the time, but in most cases, classic or classical. Bidnillahi ta'ala. The book today is a book which is called Kitabul Qadr. Kitabul Qadr. Kitabul Qadr. تأليف أو تصنيف الإمام الحافظ أبي بكر جعفر بن محمد ابن الحسن ابن المستفاض الفريابي المتوفى سنة 301. 301. It says Kitab al-Qadr, the book of Qadr. The book of Qadr. The work on Qadr. And it is authored by a great Imam of the past who's known as Al-Firyabi. Al-Firyabi. Hafiz Abu Ja'far or Abu Bakr Ja'far ibn Muhammad ibn al-Hasan ibn al-Mustafa al-Firyabi, known as Al-Firyabi. And this author, this Imam, he lived a very long time ago, and he died a very long time ago. It's very early work. He died in the year 301. 301. It's just over 1,000 years. 301 is before Nasa'i's death. That is shortly after those Imams, Abu Dawood, Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, maybe 50, give or take, years after Bukhari, after Muslim, etc. So he died in the beginning of the 4th century, meaning that he lived in the 3rd century, which is the golden era, the golden century of Islam. So this is a book in which this author, Firyabi, speaks on Qadr, Al-Qada'u wal-Qadr, the divine pre-decree, the divine preordainment, Qadr, belief in the Qadr. And of course, without us looking through the book or reading through the book, you see the benefit of the book, and that is how old the book is, showing you that scholars in the past, over 1,000 years ago, wrote works on al-i'tiqad. They wrote works on aqidah. They wrote works on iman and tawheed. And that talking about iman and tawheed and aqidah isn't a new thing. It's not a nuance. Okay? And this book, it becomes even more special when we look at how the book is written. Of course, anything back in those days was musnad. It's written with a chain of narration. Every single statement, every hadith quoted, every athar quoted is with a sanad, is with a chain of narration, a chain of reporters. And as we have explained many, many, many times before, that was knowledge in those days. And that's how the scholars wrote books in those days, right? Aql hadith. That's how it was. So therefore, this is an original hadith source that can be quoted from, collected by Firyabi and the book of Qadr. رواه الفريابي في كتاب القدر. أخرجه الفريابي في كتاب القدر. نعم. طيب. Another benefit, before we even get into the benefits of the book, is the reality that this goes to show the aqidah of the athar, the belief system of the Salaf al-Salih and the people of the athar, once again, isn't a new thing. It isn't a nuance, which many people shamelessly, unfortunately, and the Prophet ﷺ tells us about those who have no shame, they have no shyness. Nothing bounds them, nothing keeps them back from doing or saying whatever they want to do. And shamelessly say that the belief and to take the text literally, outwardly, and to believe in them and to submit to them okay, is a new thing. It wasn't known until Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab came along. Unfortunately, many ignoramuses, may Allah protect us from ignorance, lacking knowledge and behaving ignorantly. Many ignoramuses. I don't want to call them fools, but yani, a spade is a spade. They go around saying that this is a Wahhabi Aqidah, Wahhabism, and this 301. How many years before Ibn Abdul Wahhab was even thought of, before his parents were even thought of, right? And if Ibn Abdul Wahhab comes and brings something new, no problem. But if Ibn Abdul Wahhab is doing nothing more than quoting and bringing and reviving what was already mentioned, even if you disagree with it, that's fine. You don't accept that, no problem. But it's pure stupidity to call it Wahhabism because it's nothing from him. It's nothing from him. So this goes to show that, and of course in this book, this athar, reported to us, related to us. Qala Rasulullah, the Sahaba said, the Imam said, the Salaf said, that's it. That's all it is. So therefore, anyone who comes with that or says that and promotes that and pushes that, only a fool, an ignorant fool is going to say, he's a Wahhabi. He's a Firyabi. Right? You have to use your brain just a little bit every now and then. You don't have to use all of your brain. You don't have to think too much, but just a little bit. And I don't think you have to use your brain 24/7, but every now and then you gotta turn it on just a bit. So this book shows us is that this is a very old and ancient thing and concept, right? طيب خيرا إن شاء الله تعالى. And we've explained this many times before. On page 152 is athar number 215. And obviously this is the tahqiq of Abdullah ibn Ahmad al-Mansur. The Firyabi didn't use numbers in his book. He says, حدثنا أبو الحارث سريج بن يونس قال حدثنا مروان بن شجاع عن سالم الأفطس عن سعيد بن جبير عن ابن عباس قال ما غلا أحد في القدر إلا خرج من الإيمان. There's a statement here on page 215 or page 152, Athar 215. The author reports from Abu al-Harith, Surayj ibn Yunus, from Marwan ibn Shuja', from Salim al-Aftas, from Sa'id ibn Jubair, Ibn Abbas's pupil and disciple, that Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, said, ما غلا أحد في القدر إلا خرج من الإيمان. Anyone who goes extreme concerning the qadr, anyone who has perverse thoughts or an ideology, something that's made up, he goes outside of the boundaries of Kitab and Sunnah, his belief, his thinking, his philosophy concerning the divine pre-decree. Ghala. He goes extreme in affirming it. He goes extreme in affirming free will. Any type of deviation, which is an extreme right or left, إِلَّا خَرَجَ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ, except that he will leave from the boundaries and from the realms, from the folds of faith. ما غلا أحد في القدر إلا خرج من الإيمان. Whenever a person deviates in qadr, he will leave the circle of iman. Think about that statement now. How serious and how dangerous that is with regards to going extreme and affirming it, and that the slave has no free will whatsoever, no choice, no power. He doesn't have the ability to pick right and wrong, good or bad, up or down, north or south, hot or cold. Ghala. Or rather, the servant has absolute free will, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't decree everything, didn't write everything, didn't make everything, didn't create everything. And if he did, and then he punishes the sinful servant, that will be wrong. How can Allah decree for him to smoke the drugs, drink the alcohol, make the zina, run from the battlefield, disrespect his parents, abuse the wealth of the orphan, and then punish him? That's unfair, that's wrong. And of course Allah tells us in the Quran that your Lord oppresses no one, your Lord wrongs no one, your Lord never does any injustice to anyone, so on and so forth. All right. So this is a beautiful statement here of Abdullah ibn Abbas, which shows us the need and the necessity of balance and moderation, and that when you go extreme and when you think too much and when you try to rationalize and mathematize and you try to make Allah's qadr into something that fits into your small head and your small mind and your limited human intelligence, and you try to rationalize what Allah has done and decreed, you're going to crash, and you're going to crash really hard. And that crash, waliyadu billah, is going to be you leaving Islam and you having doubts about Islam and bad thoughts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How did this happen to me? How is this decreed? Um, how could have this? How could this? How could this could have been? So on and so forth. Now, some of the Salaf Salih and other sources, they would say, "Inna dhunuba baridul kufr." They would say that sins are the gateway to disbelief. And one of the explanations of that is you continue to sin, and then you sit back and you say, did Allah really decree this upon me? Is this really meant to be? How vile and evil is that? For Allah to decree these sins on me, these chronic sins that I've been making. And then you start having doubt after doubt after doubt. And the next thing you know, you leave Islam. And this is why whenever there's apostasy in Islam, it's going to be based off of some type of sin and some type of act of disobedience, some type of disease of the heart. فَلَمَّا زَاغُوا أَزَاغَ اللَّهُ قُلُوبَهُم. Allah says, and when they strayed, Allah caused their hearts to stray. وَنُقَلِّبُ أَفْئِدَتَهُم وَأَبْصَارَهُم. Allah says, we will turn their hearts and their eyes away. And there's verse after verse after verse, which Allah Azza wa Jalla talks about how they will be sent away, they will be caused to suffer blindness. All right? In the footnotes here, it says, أخرجه الخلال في السنة والآجري في الشريعة من طريق المصنف كما أخرجه ابن بطة في الإبانة واللالكائي. And then the author, he mentions a few other collectors and compilers of hadiths and athar concerning aqidah. And these are books that every student of knowledge should have in his library, especially when the aqidah of the athar is under siege and under attack. And so many ignoramuses today, even if they have doctors in front of their names or professors or whatever they are, claim to be intellectuals, they're going around saying that the aqidah of the athar is a new thing. All right, it's a modern day thing, it's a made up thing, it's a nuance, so on and so forth. And you have these books over 1,000 years ago, them quoting the athar, quoting the Salaf al-Salih, pertaining to Iman, pertaining to Sahaba, pertaining to the Quran, etc., 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 right? And then we have even more confused people, unfortunately, who will acknowledge the fact that the book is old, but then they'll blame the interpretation on the Wahhabi editor, right? Well, obviously, in this footnote, there's no kalam of the Wahhabi editor. And how do you know he's a Wahhabi editor? Do you know who the editor is? Have you met him? Do you know what his aqid is? Has the editor ever professed, I'm a Wahhabi? Speaking without knowledge is one of the gravest sins in al-Islam. But here in this footnote, the editor says nothing. All he does is mention where else you can find this statement and this narration of old ancient books over 1,000 years ago, right? Without a figurative interpretation, right? And without a philosophical, rational kalam. Now, khayran inshallah ta'ala. So, as-sunnah, al-lakai, or al-khalal, al-sharia, al-ajuri, these books are extremely important. Wallahu ta'ala alam. There are hundreds of hadiths, hundreds of athar in this book. What's important is the Muslim must be balanced. He must have the correct understanding of what qadr is and what qadr is not. What is free will, what isn't free will. And you have to use your brain, as we said, every now and then, and just a little bit. And think about it. You have the choice. You have the ability to be righteous, to do the right thing, or to be wicked. You have to make that choice. And if something befalls you, something that you want to do doesn't happen, it isn't allowed, what's qadr. Wallahu ta'ala. First question is coming from Richmond, Virginia. Initials RE. Can I talk on the phone with my fiance alone, or do I have to be in the room with my parents? My parents and his parents already know we are getting to know each other. Inshallah ta'ala, you're talking about getting married, getting to know each other. You try your best to fear Allah. The ruling is like driving at nighttime or in the daytime, either or, but let's just say at nighttime. Whenever you feel a little sleepy, immediately roll down the window. Whenever you feel a little sleepy, listen to some Quran, turn it all the way up. When you feel sleepy, you get tired, you start nodding and dozing, pull over immediately. Pull over. Take a nap. It's better for you to be late It's better for you to spend the night somewhere than to crash your car. So you're talking to your fiance and you start nodding off a little bit, getting a little comfortable and happy and jovial and joyful and LOL and emojis and blah 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 and blah blah blah. It's time to stop that conversation. You get the point that I'm trying to make. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Question says from UN from Stockton, California. What are your thoughts on the Zahiri Madhab and the works of Ibn Hazm? Also, is attempting to translate in the Quran a good way to practice one's Arabic? Jazakallah khairan. May Allah bless all of the brothers and the sisters on the West Coast, Stockton, alhamdulillah, good memories out there, good brothers out there. I think that the Zahiri Madhab is one of these schools of thought in which it has its virtues, its ups, its pros, and it has its vices and its cons and its downs. And the student of knowledge, even the layman, you have to figure out what's most authentic to you, what makes the most sense to you as a base, as a default. That I'm Zahiri fil asl. The default is we take the Zahir and that we do not make qiyas and that we don't go beyond the text as a starting point. But does that mean that you can never, ever, ever make qiyas? Does that mean that all qiyas is false? For sure, much of qiyas is batil, and much of qiyas is abused by different scholars. They stretch it out, they fade it out. That's a fact. They abuse qiyas. But is all qiyas bad? Do the Zahiris even say that? So therefore, I would say a Zahiri madhab as a starting point, as a base, as a stock to your soup. There's no doubt about that. You can't go outside of it. There is no this. It can't be no qiyas, etc. Different story, right? It's a human system. Shafi'i, Hanbali, Hanafi, Maliki, they're all human systems. So the system is going to be limited to the limits of a human being. But the goal and the aim and the objective is to understand Quran and Sunnah and follow Quran and Sunnah to the best of your ability and to your capacity and to your capability. So, without getting too deep, because this can be a very long discussion, no doubt. I mean, I've had friends call me Zahiri before, and I took it as a compliment. Alhamdulillah in Medina. A good friend of mine, he's Shafi'i, Somali. He said, Mufti, he said, you're a Zahiri. If you don't have a Shafi'i madhab, you're a Zahiri. I smile. I said, Alhamdulillah, thank you for the compliment. So that's my thoughts on the Zahiri opinion and the works of Ibn Hazm as well. And obviously, I don't know if this applies to the rule or not. We normally don't take questions about personalities in the live stream for or against. So please don't forget that again in the future. Ibn Hazm is one of the greatest scholars of his era, and his works, no doubt about that, are depended upon in many issues, in many aspects. And he spoke on many things. He talked about many things. But of course, his discussions of fiqh and comparative fiqh and his discussions of khilaf, difference of opinion, and his discussions on ijma' and his him quoting the salaf as well with the chains of narration, لا يستغني عنها أحد. Indispensable, right? Ibn Hazm was a great mind and a great scholar. Was he perfect? I didn't say that. Was he the prophet of Islam? I didn't say that. Is he free and exempt from mistake and error? No criticism? We surely didn't say that. And that's the extremism that people have. Either you're all good or you're all evil. That absolute mindset. As far as translating the Quran to practice your Arabic, then obviously the word translating the Quran is a problematic term. But I understand what you're asking, trying to apply your nahw yourself to those words, and yes, that's one of the best ways of learning Arabic and sharpening your Arabic. And there's no doubt about that. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Next question says, BT from Nairobi, Kenya, is asking for a sign of an accepted dua. Shirk, thank you. No, not at all. AH from London, if someone takes intoxicants, will he get no reward for his prayers for 40 days, even if he sincerely repents? If you repent, will he get rewarded? The Prophet ﷺ says, he who drinks khamr won't have his prayer accepted for 40 mornings. No reward. That's the punishment. AH from London, UK. If the Fajr and Salah in the masjid is at 6 and the Fajr then is at 5:45, but it takes you 30 minutes to get to the mosque, would it be disliked if you pray your Fajr Sunnah at the mosque? No, it's not disliked. It's not haram to pray Sunnahs in the masjid, but it's preferred to pray them at home if you can. And as we've explained before, the Muslim must learn how to prioritize his ibadat. Your acts of worship must be prioritized. I want to implement the sunnah of praying the sunnahs at home, but I want to be late at the masjid. When I come home, I'm going to be extremely tired, and I'm not going to make those sunnahs. Or the kids are going to jump on me, etc., etc. So you have to prioritize. You have to have a fiqh. And you can't do everything all of the time. It's like playing a card game. This card trumps this. Sometimes you just have to learn how to. Some cards are superior to other cards. So even though this is a sunnah here, this is a greater sunnah there, so on and so forth. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Next question is coming from AH from London again. Who are those who Allah won't hold account on the day of judgment? How can we be among those people? They are the people who are mutawakkilun. They are the people who have strong tawakkul. They have powerful tawakkul. And that causes them not to ask, not to beg, not to request. Alright? Not to use superstition. Alright? Wallahu ta'ala alam, strengthen your tawakkul. Inmate from Manchester, UK, relating to the ayah, أرأيت من اتخذ إله هواه أفأنت تكون عليه وكيلا. Can the word hawa be translated as the ego? If not, does it include the ego? Hawa, for sure, can mean ego. One's desires, one's lusts. Right now, the other day I was driving down the street and I was behind a car on the road or highway, and the guy's license plate said the Khan. The Khan. That's his license plate. Not the boss, not the Don, not the man, the Khan. Right? So a person wanting to be Khan, the supreme ruler, HNIC, the person wanting to be the Don, the boss, the Don Dada, the top dude, that such and such. That's hawa. That's desire. That's lust. All right? And I may follow that lust blindly, commit haram things, whatever the case, just to get what I want in my chest. So hawa could be ego. Hawa could be zina, lust. Drinking alcohol. This wine is delicious. My soul craves it, yearns for the taste of these aged grapes. That's hawa. That which goes against what Allah wants, Allah's deen, Allah's legislation, that's hawa. Showing favoritism to a person and a ruling is hawa. Talking about somebody because you're jealous of them is hawa. You envy that person, that's hawa, right? Wallahu ta'ala, and we've explained before the danger of the ego. May Allah help us all. SS from Chicago, Illinois. Salam Mufti, just wanted to say, may Allah accept your hard work and bless your efforts. Barakallahu feekum. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa feekum barakallah. Jazakallahu khairan. Barakallahu feekum. Love, peace, and blessings to the Windy City, or some call it Chirac, or whatever you want to call it in Chicago. May Allah bless you. Thank you very much for your kind words and your du'as. Jazakallahu khairan. It really means a lot. FA from Houston, Texas. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti Abu Ramla. The two hadith that explain the reward of Jama'ah being 25 or 27, are they mudarib? No. I have $10 in my pocket. And if someone says, how much money? And I say, I got $20 in my pocket. 10 is the lower number, 20 is the higher number. I was asked twice whether I knew it or not, whether I had a reason why I told this person I had 10 and then I had 20. There's no contradiction. One says 25, one says 27. It's just that simple. Both are sound, inshallah ta'ala, and there's no contradiction between them, inshallah ta'ala. Wallahu alam. Mufti, moving forward. NP from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. Is tongue a piercing haram? Can you also give the evidence for this, please? Jazakallah khairan. May Allah bless you in both worlds for all the work you do. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Barakallahu fikum. proof and evidence that a tongue piercing is haram. I don't think that there's a specific dalil, a specific hadith or ayah stating that you cannot pierce your tongue. Are there general proofs and evidences? For sure. And from those general proofs and evidences, one may say, is that this is an act that pleases Satan. It pleases Shaitan. And it's known historically that different pagans and mushriks, they will pierce their bodies. They will poke holes in their bodies, whether it's their tongue or their cheeks or their face or other parts of the ear, their neck, etc. They would experience this pain. They would wear these things as a sign of devotion and submission to their gods, and mutilating themselves, and Shaitan having a good time by those human beings destroying their bodies. So somebody may say that having these piercings is a manifestation of these shirk practices. And of course, the first thing someone's going to say, what about an earring? Muslims wear earrings. An earring has been confirmed in Islam. Wearing earrings is something that was known to the Arabs. Okay? And it's mentioned in hadiths. Okay? So therefore, many scholars say that a woman wearing an earring, not a man, and a woman wearing a nose ring, these things were accepted and they were well known. As far as a tongue or a lip or this or that, then they may say that that's closer to the mutilation of the body and the pleasing of the shayateen. One may say imitating the kuffar. It's a sign, it's a way of imitating the disbelievers. Generalities. But something specific, I can't say that. I can't necessarily say myself that it's haram to pierce the tongue. I can't say that. It maybe not, but I can't say that right now to you. If you are going to get your tongue pierced, I think that you should cover your face. And I do not think that you should have a tongue piercing and your face is uncovered. Period. And of course, there's a long discussion concerning piercings and concerning that issue. Can a woman get a belly piercing? Right? Can I get a piercing in this part of my back, the dimples of my back, so on and so forth? Can I get a piercing here or there or this or that? Right? How many piercings on my ear can I get? How high up can I go? Here, here, here. Can I get a bar sticking and poking through my ear? What is the level? What is the stopping point? I would say that even if getting this type of piercing isn't haram, I think that piercing is like, as they say, the Pringles slogan. Once you pop, you can't stop. Once you get one piercing, you see people that get another piercing and another and a third and a fourth. And the next thing you know, you pierced out. You pierced out. You got hair all over the place. And that's clearly problematic, Islamically. It's like a tattoo. You ever seen somebody just get one tattoo? Maybe, but I'm asking you, have you ever seen someone with just one tattoo before? And I'm not talking about a hidden tattoo, a closet tattoo, but someone who wears tattoos outside, they don't cover up, man, woman. Have you ever seen somebody with just one tattoo that's outward? In most cases, it's boom, 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 and then class. You're addicted to getting tats. You're addicted to getting piercings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Next question says, DB from Dublin, Ireland. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. I grew up in a non-practicing household. I'm 21 and I want to study in Medina, although I feel inadequate because of my background. Any advice? Seek Allah's refuge. Feeling inadequate, insufficient, lacking that type of confidence and self-esteem, that's from Shaitan. And he's trying to keep you away from seeking knowledge. So you must seek Allah's refuge from Shaitan's whispers and his whisperings. MA, Manchester, UK, Sheikh, and of course, read The Way of the Disciple. Read The Way of the Disciple. We spoke on fire dragons, people not having confidence, lacking self-esteem. Read the book that we wrote on that, those inner whisperings. The Way of the Disciple. You got to read it. Question says, Inmate from Manchester, UK, Sheikh. Not to say refutations are not appropriate, but can we sometimes forget that the Yahud and the Nasara are the original innovators? Barakallahu Fiqh. We've spoken this before. The extremism of different groups and dawah organizations and cliques and gangs and bands concerning refutations, and how many people are obsessed with refutations. And from the perversion concerning this is people don't refute the Jews and the Christians, and all they do is talk about the Muslims, and that's it. And that's a problem. The Quran clearly talks about the Jews and the Christians. The Prophet ﷺ, how many hadiths warned against the Jews and the Christians, cursed the Jews and the Christians, and the mushrikun. Next question. Ask M from Pensacola, New Jersey. Is it possible to hold Jumu'ah at a high school that the number of male students, the school has 2 miles from the masjid, most students find difficult to the masjid? Yes, it's permissible. It's permissible. It doesn't have to be 40 men. It doesn't have to be 12 men. Jumu'ah can be made with the minimum amount of people that is required for jama'ah, whether that's 2 or 3 people. Wallahu alam. SA from Toronto, Ontario. Do we say subhanallah when we go downstairs? What about going up? Mention Allah's name whenever you can. If you go down the steps and you want to say subhanallah, similar to the narration concerning the road, tayyib. Allahu Akbar as you're ascending, tayyib, inshallah. Inshallah, tayyib. SH from DC. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. What is the advice for those who sit with Ahlul Athar and then later speak ill of the teachings as being Wahhabi and other than that? Barakallahu fikum. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Shams. Barakallahu fikum. Adin al-nasiha. Give sincere advice. Give sincere advice. And don't argue. Don't fight. Do not argue. Do not fight. Advice is the thing. If you and a brother have a discussion, a peaceful, civil, respectable discussion, that's fine. But don't argue, don't fight. Make an excuse for the brother. Maybe the brother forgot. Maybe the brother's stressed out. Maybe the brother's confused himself. Maybe the brother's going through something. Make an excuse for him. Be naive as much as you possibly can. And most importantly, the proof and evidence. As we just said, common sense. Common sense. That's all that's needed. And listen to the formula once again, carefully. A person disagrees. Now we don't even have to talk about names and attributes, but for argument's sake, a person disagrees. We can't say that Allah has this attribute. You can't say that this is literal. You can't say Allah is above the throne. You can't say that. All right, no problem. Tayyib. That's fine. That's totally fine. You disagree with saying that. Allah is above the throne. That's not literal. That's figurative. And that means Allah's power is above the throne. Or that means Allah, He conquered the throne. No problem. Tayyib. That's your interpretation and your belief system, etc., etc., etc. No problem. But is the statement that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ar-Rahman is above the throne Himself, the mighty and the most high, in a manner that we cannot comprehend and get, that does not imitate or resemble any type of thing that is created or mortal? Is Ibn Abdul Wahhab the founder of that statement? Is he the creator of that statement? Is he the first one to come with that statement? Is he the reviver of that statement and no one else before him? If Muhammad Abdul Wahhab made that statement first, if he's the one who brought it from total absence, it was asleep, no one knew about it for over 1,000 years, no problem. Call it Wahhabi Aqidah. But it's stupidity, I quote, historically, to say that the one who holds that belief is a Wahhabi when you have scholars 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000, 1,100, 1,200, 1,300 years before Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. How does that make any sense? So the shaitan, he plays tricks on the son of Adam. And he forces the son of Adam to think that he's so smart and intelligent that he becomes dumb and stupid. I don't agree with that aqidah. You can't say Allah is above the throne. No issue. Tayyib, that's fine. But those who do say that, it is inaccurate, it's wrong, it's erroneous, it's fallacious for you to say that they're Wahhabis. Because Ibn Abdul Wahhab's main problem and issue, the thing that people disagree with him the most, was not asma wa sifat. It was the concept of takfir and uluhiyya and shirk and tawassul and istighatha. So how stupid can you be? Ibn Abdul Wahab's main legacy wasn't Asma wa Sifat. He didn't fight and battle with this group and that group and this group and write 50 books and 50 volumes on Asma wa Sifat. The crux, the whole entire problem with Ibn Abdul Wahab, like most of them, most people, is concerning worship. And what is polytheism? And is this Muslim a kafir? Have they apostated? Have they left the religion? Can you fight them? The people that he killed, Najd, etc., etc. So stupidity is a disease that you must seek Allah's refuge and protection from. And people become so overzealous, they become so caught up that they become blinded. They can't see basic common sense. Once again, fairness and justice. We're not forcing a person to accept this. You're free to your own opinion, to your own interpretation. I follow the scholars who said that you can't say Allah is above the throne. No problem. That's between you and your Lord. On the day of judgment, you will realize the reality of that statement. When you stand in front of Allah, you'll know how true or how false that statement was. But you can't label someone something that person, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab, he's not even responsible for. And we're not talking about layman people. We're not talking about 9 to 5 people. We're talking about a shameless person who's a doctor who claims to be a scholar of Islam. And that is his ignorant, stupid behavior. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I reject Ibn Taymiyyah. I refute Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah said this. That's Ibn Taymiyyah hundreds of years before Ibn Abdul Wahab. And even that's refutable because Ibn Taymiyyah is only doing what? Quoting this and mentioning this and explaining this and categorizing this. But for argument's sake, strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. Ibn Abdul Wahab is not the shepherd. Ibn Taymiyyah isn't the shepherd. But for argument's sake, at least go higher up the ladder. So the shaitan he's a trickster. And we have to be careful of his games. All right? And I don't think anyone who's just and fair and anyone who has some type of brain will reject what I just said. With the fact that you don't have to follow it and take it, that's fine. You're whatever group or sect that you want to be. But historically, you have to be accurate. Historically, mathematically. I owe you $20. We just did the math in the calculator. You can't come along and say, you owe me $25 because, I disagree with that. Okay, let's bring out the calculator, the pencil. How much? 5 plus 5, 20. What are you talking about? Ibn Abdul Wahab, 12th century. Firyabi, 3rd century. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, dude? Is your brain on? Is it working? And it's one thing if it's a 9 to 5 Muslim, a layman Muslim. That's one thing. It's sad enough. But somebody's supposed to be a scholar and a doctor and an intellectual and a visionary. That's truly tragic. So that's my advice, is not to argue, not to fight, give advice. And if you are having a discussion, let the facts dominate. Let the proof, let the evidence, let the science dominate the conversation. Right? Wallahu alam. Age from London, UK. The hadith about the young man who grows up worshiping Allah will be shaded on the day of judgment. What age gap are we referring to? Young man. However young you want it to be. Whether it's born and raised Muslim, you accepted Islam at a young age, you were born and raised Muslim, but you started practicing when you were 10, you're still a young man. وهكذا. YA from Birmingham, UK. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti in the masjid. I feel like Isha Salah, the Imam goes faster in the Fatiha in the 3rd and 4th rak'ah. I struggle to keep up. What do I say? He gave me advice that he needs to be balanced. Not too fast, not too slow. Moving forward. So what about the nose ring that looks like a cow ring? Allah musta'an. May Allah help us all. Questions come from Ottawa. SR. My gym offer wristbands that have a sensor to open the door to the facility. They also offer cards. I wear it to go to the gym. Is this imitation of women? Jazakallah khairan. I don't think anything or everything that a man wears on his wrist is an imitation of a woman. I wouldn't say that's fair. There are many things that men wear on their wrists which aren't feminine. Wallahu alam. Saying from Kuwait. What does a student of knowledge do if he doesn't understand basic knowledge in usul fiqh, mirath, fiqh, and so on? You need a teacher. And you need to stick to that teacher. You need a regimen. Salam, Sumaya, Usman from Accra, Ghana. 3 things to make my husband happy. 3 things to make my husband happy, please. If that's your question. 3 pieces of advice to make your husband happy. Number 1, never talk back to your husband. Don't have a smart mouth or a long tongue. No man, and I quote, no man in his right mind likes a woman that has a foul mouth. A woman with a very long tongue that always talks back or says something smart or gets, no one likes that. If the man jokes or haha or this and that, deep down inside, no man likes a woman that doesn't know how to talk to him with respect. So that's number one. Is watch what you say to your husband. Number two, three things to make your husband happy. Number two, um, the closest way to a man's heart is his stomach. Feed him good food. He comes home from work, make sure that the food is hot, steaming, bubbling, boiling on the pot. No kalam, bismillah, there's your food, just like that, right? Husband wants to complain or this and that, kill him with your fork and with your knife. Third piece of advice to way to make your husband happy is to be there for him whenever he's stressed out. Be there for him, right? Be in his corner. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Of course, there are many pieces of advice that can be given concerning that. All right, let's see if we have anything from online. Instagram, Yusuf in Maryland, U.S. I have doubts about my marriage. Wife had no wali, no Muslim relatives. The imam said it wasn't necessary. Is it true? It depends on who the imam was. It depends on who the imam was. True to who? It depends. Tayyib. Is it permissible to call ourselves Salafi while being a follower of the companions in the two following generations? If you wish to call yourself Salafi with that intention, Bismillah, do it. And if you say, I don't want to, or I don't have to, I don't choose to call myself Salafi, then that's also fine. What's important is the content, is that you're trying your best to understand and to practice Islam in the purest form possible. That's what's important. That's what matters, right? Sheikh, can you please explain the hadith that mentioned trim the mustache and exempt the beard? What does the word exempt mean in Arabic, as I can't find it anywhere to say grow? Tayyib, barakallahu feek. Like we just said, it isn't a condition that you be super smart. It is not the condition that you use your brain all of the time. But every now and then you have to use your brain. So, there are different versions of this hadith with regards to the beard. And FYI, before you go forward, there are several books the scholars have written just on the beard, let alone in the books of explanation of hadiths and in the fiqh books. What's important is a little bit of common sense. One of the words that's used in those hadiths, there's several hadiths, is arkhul liha. Arkhu al-liha. And the word arkhu is coming from arkha. And arkha literally means to drag, to let hang, to dangle. So if we talk about Sir Isaac Newton and talk about gravity, so on and so forth, something that's up, it does what? It falls down. Right? Let's not get too deep talking about gravity, round earth, flat earth. That's a discussion in itself. But what's traditional orthodox gravity, something is high up and it does what? It falls down, correct? It falls down, right? So therefore, irkha is to hang something and let it drape, like these curtains. It falls down. The curtain doesn't stand all the way up, but instead it does what? Arkhaytu sitara. I have pulled down the curtain. I've dropped the curtain. So the gravity of the beard is what? The hair is to do what? It's supposed to hang down, fall down. So that's common sense. To let the beard grow. What does that mean? If you're shaving or trimming, the hair isn't what? It's not hanging. It's not draped. Aql. Very important to use your brain. Okay? Wallahu ta'ala alam. And there are other narrations as well, which are all in line with common sense. Waffirul liha. Make the beards abundant. What the heck does that mean? Abundant. Waffir. Tofir. What does that mean? If I have a shaven face, right now, is my beard abundant? The hair doesn't grow. People say, Sheikh, it's fair law, stop shaving your beard. Many brothers say this, people in the comments. Sheikh, he's a fake mufti. You're a muftadi. You shave your beard. Stop shaving your beard. Common sense, right? This doesn't grow. But this part is what? Is there or not? Yeah, you get the point I'm trying to make? Wallahu a'lam. May Allah help us all to use our brains. Allahumma musta'an. And that's a calamity. You know. Next question says, Sheikh, why are you wearing the Shiite rings? Allahu Akbar. Once again, common sense. What is, why, yani, what, maybe this is a Shiite sweater or a Shiite hat, right? Ring being a fashion statement, a piece of your style, right? The stone, what you believe about the stone, what I believe about the stone, versus a person saying, I like it, it looks nice, it looks good. Now, this person has the stone, he calls upon Ali. I have the stone because I like the way it looks. It looks nice and so on and so forth. It makes my hand, so on and so forth, right? Akab. What is a Shiite ring? Is some shirk written inside of the ring? A stone that comes from the grave of Ali or something like this? What determines, in a sense, they say Shiite ring? You understand? I appreciate it though. At least you noticed. Barakallahu fikum. All right, last question we'll take today is coming from Dublin, Ireland. DB. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. I grew up in a right, we took that one. We'll take the last one, inshallah, from YouTube. FA from Houston, Texas. May Allah bless you, dear Sheikh. On my hadith journey, what should I study after Nukhbat al-Fikr? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah bless you as well. You can find it on the playlist. We've explained that methodology. And if you ask me right now what to study after Nukhbat al-Fikr, I would say Nuzhat al-Nadhar. Even if you've taken the explanation of Nukhbat al-Fikr from another scholar, whether it's your teacher in your school, your institute, or whether it's the explanation of Sheikh Al-Uthaymeen or this one or that one, you go back to the classical traditional explanation by the author himself, Nuzhat al-Nadhar. Having a simple basic explanation of Nukhbat al-Fikr, the next step is reading the Sharh of Hafidh ibn Hajar, Nuzhat al-Nadhar. Alright? Fi Tawdihi Nukhbat al-Fikr. And I personally would advise you to read Nuzhat al-Nadhar 3 times consecutively, back to back. Nuzhat al-Nadhar, if you understand it properly, you're going to understand 75% of all that's written about Mustalah after Hafidh ibn Hajar. After Hafidh ibn Hajar. Not before, and not 100%, but most of it. Let alone 9 out of 10 modern day scholars, 9 out of 10 modern day researchers are all following 90% that's in Nuzhat al-Nadhar. So that's very important. Of course, there are different ways of studying Mustalah, different schools of thought, different ideologies. There are tons of books before Nukhbat al-Fikr and after Nukhbat al-Fikr, contemporaries of Nukhbat al-Fikr, but we're just talking about Nukhbat al-Fikr right now. So Nuzhat al-Nadhar. As far as the next metin after Nukhbat al-Fikr and after Nuzhat, al-Muqidha of al-Dhahabi, rahimahullah ta'ala. Wallahu alam. May Allah bless each and every one of you. Jazakumullahu khairan. Please don't forget to check out HDVIP for access, unlimited access to exclusive HD content. Please don't forget to sign up for our Sisters Book Club. Please don't forget to sign up for our Sisters Intensive Hadith course. Those who wish to contact us and reach out to us and book personal time with us, you can do so via Hadith Disciple shop, via Zoom. Inshallah ta'ala, jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.